Unmute, my apologies. We'll go ahead and start again from verse 30 of chapter 7, okay? Sorry about that. Here you go, Mom.
Some are guided and some deserve straying. Certainly these are the ones who have taken the devils as allies beside God, and they reckon that they are guided. The children of Adam, you shall dress nicely at every mosque and eat and drink, but do not be gluttonous. Indeed, he does not love the gluttons. Say, who has prohibited the niceties that God has created for his servants, as well as the clean provisions? Say, these are exclusively reserved for those who have attained faith in this world, as well as in the hereafter. We thus explain the signs for those people who are knowledgeable. Say, indeed, my Lord has prohibited evil deeds, be it obvious or hidden, as well as sin and want without need, and setting up partners for God, for which he never revealed any authorization, and to say about God what you do not know. And for every community there is an interim. And once their interim is over, they can neither delay it an hour, nor can they advance it. O children of Adam, indeed messengers have come to you from amongst you, narrating my proofs to you. Therefore, whoever takes heed and becomes righteous, he has then nothing to fear, nor will he grieve. As for those who reject our proofs and become arrogant, they are the dwellers of hell. They will abide therein eternally. Then who is more unjust than the one who attributes a lie to God or rejects his proofs? They have their destiny according to the Scripture. When our messengers come to them to terminate their lives, they will ask them, where are those whom you used to call upon besides God? They will say, they have abandoned us, and they will bear witness against themselves that they were indeed unfaithful. He said, enter hell along with the previous communities of jinns and humans. As each community enters, the others curse them until they all enter. The latter say about the former, our Lord, these are the ones who misled us, so increase for them the agony of hell. He said, everyone is receiving an ever-increasing agony, but you do not know. And the former said to the latter, you do not have any superiority over us. Therefore, taste the suffering for what you earned. Surely those who rejected our proofs and treat them with arrogance, the gates of the sky will never open for them, and they will not enter paradise until the camel passes through the needle's eye. And we thus requite the guilty. Gehenna will be their abode, and above them will be a barrier, and we thus requite the unjust. As for those who have attained faith and led a righteous life, we never burdened any soul beyond her means. These are the dwellers of paradise. They abide therein eternally. We further remove all malice from their hearts. Rivers flow beneath them, and they will say, praise God for guiding us to this, for we would have never been able to be guided had God not guided us. Our Lord's messengers did bring the truth, and they will be told. Have you found your Lord's promise to be true? They will say yes. Then a caller amongst them proclaims that God's curse has befallen upon the unjust, those who repel from the path of God and seek to distort it, and they are deceivers in the hereafter. And in their midst there is a barrier. As for the purgatory, there are men who recognize each other by their looks. The dwellers of paradise call upon them, "Peace upon you." They did not enter therein just because they wanted it badly. And when they turned their eyes towards the dwellers of hell, they said, "Our Lord, do not put us with the transgressing people." And the dwellers of the purgatory call upon those men whom they recognize by their looks, saying, "Your number did not help you, and neither your arrogance." Are these not the ones that you swore God's mercy would never touch? Enter paradise, have no fear, and have no grief. And the dwellers of hell call upon the dwellers of paradise, "Let us have some water or some of what God has provided for you." They respond, "God has certainly prohibited this for the unfaithful." These are the ones who have taken their religion as entertainment and play, and this worldly life has deceived them. Therefore, we neglect them today, just as they neglected the meaning of this day, and because they constantly renounced our proofs. And we surely have presented them with a fully detailed book, founded on knowledge, a beacon and a mercy for the people who have faith. Are they waiting to see its fulfillment? The day it is fulfilled, those who ignored it before say, "Indeed, our Lord's messengers were truthful." Now, do we have any intercessors to intercede on our behalf, or could we be sent back to other than what we used to do? They surely hurt their souls, and the very thing they fabricated caused them to go astray. Certainly your Lord is God, the one who created the vacuum and matter in 6 days. Then he balanced the dominion. The night covers the day as it pursues it consistently, and the sun and the moon and the stars are obedient to his command. To him belong all creations and commands. Blessed is God, Lord of the multiverse. Call upon your Lord humbly and quietly. He surely does not love the transgressors. And do not spread corruption throughout the land after it is set right, and call upon him out of fear and anticipation. Surely God's mercy is always near the righteous. And he is the one who sends the wind, bringing the good news of his readily available mercy. Once the heavy clouds gather, we drive them to the town that was dead. We then send down water therefrom, and grow with it all kinds of fruits. We thus resurrect the dead, that you may be reminded. As for the town that is pure, its plants germinate with its Lord's permission. And as for the one that is impure, nothing germinates except unless plants. We thus explain our signs for the people who are grateful. We certainly sent Noah to his people. He then said, "O my people, worship God. There is no other God beside him for you. Indeed, I fear for you the suffering of a great day."
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, are there any questions, comments, or observations on these verses that we just read?
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Alaikum salam, Nishant. Yes, please. Go ahead.
So the faithful, when they die, they go straight to the heaven, and then everybody goes into the purgatory, and then on the day of resurrection, the ones who are unfaithful go to hell. And then who are this group that are in purgatory? They are like the ones who have mixed bad deeds with good deeds, and they end up in either hell or paradise?
These are the people who barely missed going to hell. Not all the people go to purgatory. The purgatory is a temporary location, and these are the people that assigned in this location. But there are still people that go directly to hell. Okay, and there are people who go directly to heaven or paradise. And so the group of people who go to purgatory are these group of people. There's a temporary place, but then again, the good news here is that this is after everything is said and done, and even then, when they ask God not to put them in hell, God responds to them in a positive manner. And basically, purgatory is annexed into lower heaven, as it says in chapter 50, 55, and 56.
Okay. I thought that hell would not be, created or, until day of resurrection.
Yeah, but it is at that time it is created, obviously. And there are a group of people who go directly to hell. They're not going to miss it. They're not going to miss and end up in purgatory. But these are the people who barely miss going to hell. And so they're in this location, which is a temporary abode. And according to what they are asking God, God is responding to them in a positive manner, even after death.
Yes.
Which is really good news. I mean, this is amazing.
Yes, very. And so, if somebody truly belongs to hell, and they die now or before now, they still go straight to hell.
Yeah, they go straight to hell. Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, in chapter 41, actually, I'm sorry, chapter 40 describes what happens to them. Okay. It says that. Let me see if I remember the text. Yeah. In that surah 40, this is about the people of Pharaoh. People of Pharaoh, when they die, they go into this state of existence, which is death. And in that state of existence, God says that hell will be shown to them day and night. And then on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection, admit the people of Pharaoh into hell. Okay, so that's what this nightmarish thing is, that in the state of death, they are going to be in a state of torment and agony until the day of resurrection. And when they are resurrected, then the real thing is going to hit them in the face, which is the real agony of hell. And so they're going to go to hell.
Okay, so it's not purgatory, it's not hell, but it's a state where they see what's going to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Can I ask another question?
Yes, please.
I think it was 36:7 or earlier verses that you read, that it talks about want without need. And if you think about it, almost 90% of what we are, striving for in this worldly life is want. It's not need. The need is just so basic. And so, I mean, when you think about want without need, it encompasses a lot of stuff that we are trying to achieve in this life. Is that correct?
That is coveting.
Okay?
Everybody covets. Everybody thinks really bad. Okay? You want for, you long for position, worldly position. You look for worldly possessions. Okay? You look for everything that your heart desires. And this is coveting. This is this kind of thing that you have inside your mind and inside your head, and God knows about it. And so God says, be content with your lot, chapter 74, remember? Okay?
Yeah.
And then God says that we have given him everything, but he wants more. See? And so it goes on and on and on, and there is never enough. This greed Okay, this avarice, and that they want beyond the dreams of avarice, and this constant greed is just not going to be satisfying.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anything else? Okay, so this is again that when we are prostrating and we are bowing and prostrating, we have to have the minimum clothing which is required, that you would not be embarrassed to go with that kind of clothing outside. That's the minimum. That's the minimum respect that somebody would have for God. And for Joma praise, you should dress nicely, and it doesn't matter if you're even by yourself. Nobody's around. That's not the point. The point is that this act of worship is done for the sake of God, not for the sake of people. And so you should be presentable. You should be in a way that kind of clothing that you have is good enough at least to go and check your mailbox outside. And you will not be embarrassed. Okay, so that's what God is telling us here in verse 31. O children of Adam, you shall dress nicely at every mosque, and eat and drink, but do not be gluttonous. Indeed, he does not love the gluttons. Okay, and then God says that who has prohibited? This is what God said. Who has prohibited the niceties that God has created for His servants? I mean, if you look at it, during the Hajj pilgrimage, everybody is basically dressed up in a toga. Okay, and that is not appropriate dressing. You would not put that toga on and go and see your boss. It's embarrassing. Okay, so one has to be very careful with those things. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I wanted you to look at 40:39.
40:39.
No, I mean 7:39.
Oh, 7:39. Okay.
7:39.
Okay. Yes.
So in it talks about in hell what they are doing is that they had so many. You do not have any superiority over us. Therefore, taste the suffering of what you earn. You see that it is so. It's so common. I mean, it's like you cannot lead your life without having somebody superior to you, somebody that you look up to, somebody when you give them power and authority, and then you go ask them for this and that. So there is always this is arrogance and superiority is a very common trait in this life.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah, so you keep on giving, it's just like setting another God beside God, but you're not even realizing it. And the same kind of a verse God is describing in 7:48, where God is again telling us, the dwellers of the purgatory call upon those men whom they recognize by their looks, saying your number did not help you, and neither your arrogance. Saying that huge numbers of people live their life out, being arrogant. They're living, they're delusional, always deceiving themselves. And Satan is doing all of that. And the important thing is that it's happening all around. When people are talking, you can see right away that that's what they are doing. They're attributing things that God is doing, they attribute it to people. They say he did this, he did that, he did that, and did that. And then you sit there and you listen to it, and then the only thing I can think of is to say that it's a lesson for us to understand that the 99% of the conversation going around you is not of the correct kind. The paradigm is totally wrong. And it makes we need to understand that we have to keep on reminding ourselves, like you said, think the right kind of thoughts. And the right kind of thoughts are very difficult because all around you they are not there.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing is that it's boasting and things like that. It's something that almost everybody does, and so they boast about their children, about their money, about whatever they have, and so, but that is not the way that God is telling us to be. He wants us to be humble, and here it's a situation that God is reminding us that arrogance is a trait of Satan. It's that he was arrogant and he became lowly because of that. So
it's a very common trait among, at least this is for me, among the doctors, because you see somebody has something happens to them, they get operated or they get some medicine, and then they will say, you are my God, or the doctor himself or herself thinks that they've done something. You know what I mean? I mean, it's so obvious that they keep praising themselves. Either the patient is praising or you are praising yourself. Or it's just so much nonsense that they don't even understand what is happening. This happens commonly. I mean, 15 times, 20 times a day for the same person, because they're not really understanding where the power is. They don't know the attributes of God. So It's just everywhere. It's rampant. And we just look at it, and unless you are really constantly thinking about God, like you said, and the humility and everything that goes with it, it's not going to work. Because you're identifying yourself constantly with your garment. You're not identifying yourself with your soul, because there's nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to say.
Very
Thank
good. You. Thank you. Any other comments or question or observations?
Assalamualaikum, Mr. Parvez.
Alaikum assalam, Parvez. Yes, go ahead, please.
I was just looking at verse 54, showing the power of God, and it says that To him belong all creations and all commands. This is showing his absolute control of everything in existence, right? We have no control over anything because all commands belongs to him.
Yes.
I mean, this is very humbling. That is, we are doing absolutely nothing basically at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, we're too weak to do anything. I mean, this is what God has designed, and the sun and the moon and the stars are obedient to His command. To Him belong all creations and all commands. Blessed is God, Lord of the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And so God is telling us that He's in full control. That's what the idea is, and so this has to be known to everybody. I mean, if we don't understand that, if we do not respect that, then we are in deep misunderstanding of who God is, because we think that we can actually do things. We should never fear anybody except God. Okay, so God tells us that don't fear them and fear me, and so that's what we have to do. You know, when you have a meeting or something, and you know you're bound to do something else that's godly, you choose that path. And it doesn't matter if you're late to your meeting or whatever, it just doesn't make any difference. Okay, God somehow will fix it for you. And He sees that at the end you'll be victorious, that you know the things will be arranged for you, that you know the story is there for the story of Joseph, okay, with all of the scheming and everything that his brothers did. He was the one who was saved, and he was victorious. And they were the one that they were hit with the famine, and they had to come basically begging, where he had a very high position. Okay, so you know these things that shows that God is in full control. And sometimes you think that had that happened to you before, that would have been better for you. But then when you look back at it, and then you look at your own life and say, oh my God, thank God that I wasn't in that position. Otherwise, these other bad things would have happened to me, and it didn't happen. Good things actually happened to you because of the position that you had.
Yeah, we need to have faith in His commands, right?
Yes,
exactly. Even in chapter 12, it says, God's commands are always carried out.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that is very, most people don't believe that, right? Because we're always trying to put our own commands into action.
Yeah. You know, I mean, a lot of people who are very short-sighted, they think that, you know, some success, quick success or something is going to determine their destiny. And that doesn't happen that way. You see? In the long run, they are going to be the loser. And so this is, and on the other hand, you know, to us, even if you look at it, I mean, in the case of Moses actually complains to God about Pharaoh, that Pharaoh had everything, and Moses didn't have anything, and Pharaoh was misleading people. Pharaoh was the leader of the misleaders, and so Moses complains to God that you have given this guy all kinds of stuff, and that's all he does is mislead people. Okay, so to us, as somebody who's impatient, like Moses was very impatient in the case that a servant of God was being followed by him. And he says, but you cannot stand what I do, but don't ask any questions unless I choose to explain it to you. So, but he couldn't stand it. He could not stand what he was doing. He was too impatient. But we have to be patient with God, and that is perseverance is something that we have to endeavor. And so wait because God will do it at the right time, at the right place. He will make you victorious at the very end.
such good news. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, definitely is.
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam. Yes.
No, this verse that Parvez just pointed out, it made me think of Surah 8, verse 17, where God talks about it was not you who threw,
Yes.
it was we who threw. And that verse is so, it is just the most amazing verse, because it is actually telling you that you lift your hand, you eat your food, you open your eyes, you listen with your ears. All of it is being done by God. So that is why if you ask somebody else to help you, it makes no sense.
Yep.
That person cannot change himself, because like God tells Muhammad, we are the ones who made those other people kind. If you had been stern and bad with them, then you would have had problems. But we changed them. You could have done hundreds and thousands of things and nothing would have happened.
Yes.
So basically, just asking God makes the only sense. It doesn't make any sense, whatever is happening around you, whoever is doing anything to you, to ask anybody except God. Because that person will be changed only because God is going to do it for you, if you deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's good for you.
Exactly.
That's the other thing, because a lot of the stuff that we are asking God to do for us is going to be harmful to us had He given it to us. So we have to be very careful with that. Like that song goes, that a lot of good prayers are the unanswered prayers. Okay? So, because we don't know what we are asking for. You're asking for something that's apt to be more of a hindrance and suffering for us, and we don't know it, but God knows it, so He would not give it to us out of His infinite mercy. And we have to put our trust in Him, and that is difficult for people to do sometimes. Okay.
Yes.
But in the long run, it's better for us.
But by the same token, if you read the Quran and read the prayers of all those messengers and prophets, you see clearly they're not asking for $10,000 or something like that. They're not asking you for a better home, nothing like that. I mean, the most that you see God asking is like Zachariah asking for an heir, a righteous heir, so that somebody. I mean, the way they are behaving is the way that we should be behaving. That's the only reason that God has put all that history down for us.
Yeah.
So we can ask all kinds of rubbish. That means that you never learned anything from the Quran if you're asking those kind of things.
No, but you can ask anything you want to. But my point is that if He didn't answer your prayer, there is a reason for it, and that's what we have. That's when we have to put our trust in Him. That there was a reason for that prayer not to be answered. That is my point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So when we do our prayer and we ask Him for something, we should also tell Him that Your will is my will anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I think is the right thing to do, because He's going to do the right thing for you. So whether He answers yes or no, He has answered you.
That's right. It's the right thing for you to.
Yeah, because the answer is always there. He has answered you, and you accept that answer. Whether the thing is negative or positive, it means nothing.
Yes.
That's just the right thing for you.
Yes.
Okay, so now we should remember 8:17 a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the best thing of 8:17 is basically this guy. What's his name? This fellow golfer, Tiger Woods. I mean, Tiger Woods could not miss.
Yes.
I mean, he was always holding one and all kinds of stuff. But the thing was that it was not him who was doing that. It was God who was doing that. See?
That's true too.
So,
that's absolutely.
So once that happened and God didn't do it for him, he's basically an average, golfer. He's not very good. He's not top in the world anymore or anything like that. And then he had an accident and all kinds of stuff happened to him. But my point is that, we have to realize, the humble people realize that. Arrogant people would not realize it. Humble people understand and realize that it's God who is doing it, not them. So they give the credit to God, what it's really due. And so that's what a humble person, a penitent person will do. Okay.
I hope Tom Brady is doing it now. Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers and he won against the Patriots.
Oh.
Thank you, Dr. Fazely.
Thank you.
Salam again, Dr. Fazely.
Go ahead, please, Salam. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention something about what you've been discussing in the past 2 weeks, and when we talked about when we listen to, Satan instead of God. I've never thought about it this way, that this listening to him was putting him as a God beside God. And then today you were mentioning that, if I understand correctly, that if we do something against God's command, it's just like we're putting two gods,
Yes.
like Satan beside God. And that was very profound. And it just gives you a different perspective when you're not following a command or something that God has said, that how huge is it? We're all human and we're all making mistakes every day. And then when you think about what does this mistake mean in the context of, like, now you're putting a God beside God, all of a sudden it's just like hits you, like how horrible it is what you're doing. Yeah, this was very, like, this past 2 weeks, it was very, I don't know, it just gave a different perspective.
Yes.
Things
Yes,
that
it
you
does.
think are so small. Yeah.
Sure does. I mean, that's the people who mix good deeds with bad deeds. Okay? Those people basically have two gods. Okay? Like, for example, they give to charity and then they gamble. Okay? So that is mixing good deed with bad deed. And so they have basically two gods. One is telling them not to gamble, and the other one says go ahead and gamble, because that's Satan's thing. Okay, as it says in 590, chapter 5, verse 90, as we read a few weeks ago, the gambling, intoxicant and gambling. And so we have to realize that, we have to understand that when we do that, we basically have two gods. One God is telling us one thing, and the other God is telling us the other thing, and we listen to both. We can't do that. So we have to be careful that we have to be monotheistic in this way. And we are not monotheistic when we do that. So these are really, really eye-openers for us, should be eye-openers, that we cannot do both. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what this means. Miriam, if you have a question, please go ahead and ask. I wanted to name, to avoid any misunderstanding, Dr. Fazely, but I could not find.
Assalamu alaikum, Ali.
Walaikum salam. Yes, Tasneem.
Yeah, the point that you made and pointed out the fact is enormous, which is if people are doing bad deeds and good deeds, they are actually having two gods, and they don't realize it. They bank on their good deeds and think that they are monotheists, but actually you say that they are not.
Yeah.
They are not. Yeah, it's such a good point, and it happens very frequently. Many good people also have something bad going on too. It's
They
not
have
an
some
unseen
vice.
thing.
Yes.
So in
You're
other words,
absolutely right.
in other words, while we may be praying and giving charity, this, that, and the other, but as long as we commit any kind of transgression, we are not monotheistic.
Yep.
That's something to think about. So in other words, we always have to be righteous, pure.
Well, I mean, that's the idea of thinking about God all the time. That's what I keep emphasizing, okay? If we don't do that, then whatever we are thinking about is going to become our God, you see? And that becomes, by definition, that becomes shirk. That becomes setting up a partner for God at that time. That partner is telling us something else which is not really godly. And so we have to be very careful with that.
Yes.
No, you're right. There are a lot of people who do that, mix bad deeds with good deeds. A lot of people do that.
Yes.
Miriam, do you have a question, please? Could you go ahead and ask the question, because I don't understand this thing, this text that you said here.
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam, Miriam. Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry, I did not mean to create confusion or anything like that. About your comments about that even if we pray alone, we should really show some respect to God and be, and I agree with that. I mean, I have no, but I wanted just to know whether our homes are considered mosques, and whether we can, by praying alone, that doesn't mean, of course, we're going to wear whatever crosses our mind. I understand about the respect, but can we relax a little bit your understanding of this, the best outfit?
What I said was that at minimum it has to be in a decent way, because if you cannot go and check your mailbox outside, then there is something wrong with it. You cannot stand in front of God and say your praise, okay? You have to be decently and presentable so you can do that outside. You cannot put your pajamas on and do it, or your shorts on or something like that, and stand in front of God. That is not respectable to God. That's not respectful to God. And so we have to be very careful. And by the way, a masjid means a place of prostration. That's what the literal meaning of masjid is.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, yes.
So any place that you put your head to the ground and you prostrate during your prayers, that becomes a masjid for you.
Okay. I get that. And Dr. Fazely, because since you were mentioning about the two gods and mixing the bad with the good, is actually mixing the bad with the good, can we make the statement that mixing the bad with the good is bad?
Yes, it is bad.
It is bad. Yeah.
It is bad.
So, so the result is a bad action, even though part of it was good, but at God's side, for God, it's bad.
Well, because it's not advocated by God.
Yes.
See, the evil deed that we do is not advocated by God. It's advocated by Satan. You see?
Yeah.
So at that time, when we are doing that, we are basically worshiping Satan.
That is true. Actually,
so if you think about it from chapter 36.
Yeah, I don't recall the exact chapter, but there is the chapter what God talks. I think it's chapter actually, maybe 9, when in that battle, with the prophet and his followers, and they left him alone, and basically, even though he was calling on them to come back. And in that chapter, God actually says, they faced this outcome and this suffering, and he had actually to descend his Sakina on them, and because precisely they have mixed the good deeds with bad deeds. Yes. So that's I think the only place in the Quran where God specifically talks about some kind of punishment due to the fact that they mixed bad things with good things. Yeah. Thank you.
But
so
I mean,
much.
aside from that, what we have to do is we have to be our own judge, because God says that you're going to confess on the day of judgment. Okay.
Right.
And so we know that we have done that if we do it. Okay. So there is no hiding. And so if you're mixing these bad deeds with good deeds, God says that the good deeds actually wipe out the bad deeds. Okay.
Right.
His generosity is absolutely mind-boggling. Okay.
Yeah.
We cannot really fathom it. Okay. With our puny mind, we cannot really fathom God's generosity. And He tells us that, look, this, and then there is an easy way out, and that easy way out is repentance.
Correct.
Which means that we are not going to do this any longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we admit that we were wrong when we did it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do not try to justify it. Do not try. Like, for example, some people lie. It's very common for people to lie. Okay. And God says, don't lie. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we do that, then we are basically mixing a bad deed with a good deed, and we try to somehow justify that. There is no justification for that. Okay? All we have to do is just, we done it, and so now we are sorry that we did it. We have remorse, and now we are going to quit doing this, and that's called repentance to God.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thank you, because I've never looked at it from the perspective of two gods, which really makes it very bad. I mean, I always thought of it in terms of deeds, and we try to do as many good deeds and being righteous as much as we can, but it's really very, very frightening, at least to me, to think that some of my actions where we have these bad things mixed with good things, that at that particular moment I was basically worshiping two gods. Yes. And it's very frightening, and I thank you so much for pointing to those verses during the Friday prayers, and it just moved me a lot, and thank you so much, and God bless you for reminding us.
God bless you too. I'm glad that it's useful.
Thank you.
Mashallah.
Thank you.
Mashallah. Okay. There was also another comment or question here that I didn't understand. Thank you, brother. Is that you, Mahmoud? Moses, the command was Qibla?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, yes.
How are you, brother?
I'm good, alhamdulillah.
No, sorry. I was having the discussion with Mariam on the side. I thought it was it posted to everyone?
What was posted to everyone?
The question regarding
the question was posted to I suppose, because I'm reading it.
Yeah, well, I think some of them came out, some of them were
a chat
that I was having with Mariam. We brought up taking your house as a mosque, like the children of Israel.
Yes.
God told them, use your house as the Qibla, a place of prostration. So your house, or any place, as you mentioned, any place that you are prostrated in, is a masjid, and it has to be a masjid.
Well, that's what literally masjid means.
Yes.
Okay. Masjid means like maghrib. Maghrib means the place or the time of sunset. Okay. That's what those in Arabic And these are the so-called the noun for places. Okay, so that's how we, yeah.
And other question I was going to ask you was 733. Another question about a comment.
Yes.
In 733, God forbids what God has made it forbidden.
Yes.
Haram.
Yes.
And the word used is haram or haram.
Yes, haram. Yes. Yeah.
As you discussed a couple of weeks ago on the Friday prayer.
Yeah.
6:151. God make haram idol worship.
Yep.
Now we see the word, specifically they use that word for eating the pork or it's haram.
Yeah.
With the food that God has forbidden. And that they never use the word for idol worship is haram.
Yeah, I know.
It's not about for God.
I know.
It's haram.
Yeah.
They don't do it.
Yeah, compare that the meat of the pig is the least of the problem. I know. But they're so fascinated with that the entire animal becomes haram and
exactly.
So
everything. Even the skin is haram.
You can't even touch it. If you touch it, then you have to do something.
You can't even touch it.
Yeah.
But so, here they are bathing in idol worship.
Yeah.
Calling all kind of people that besides God.
Yeah.
And they didn't see that as haram.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the word najis, which is very commonly used by a lot of people, with people like that very religious, and this is najis and that's najis and this and that. The others, okay, that's been mentioned only once, and that refers to idol worshippers. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chapter 9.
Yes. Chapter 9.
Yes.
28, verse 28.
Idol worshippers
are
impure.
Najis, they're impure, yes. Yep.
So, when you fall into idol worship, you basically become polluted.
Yes.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum, Ali.
Wa alaikum salam, Tasneem. Yes.
I just want to discuss a little bit about the people who are in the purgatory. So I was under the impression that they can either go to hell or to heaven from purgatory. But 749 says, enter paradise, have no fear and have no grief. That's what Allah tells them. So they are entering paradise. But so don't know from this that all that are there entering or some, because 747 they plead to Allah, Lord, do not put us with the transgressing people. When they look at the dwellers of hell, that's what they say. So apparently they can go either way, right? Hell or heaven, purgatory people.
No, they can see both. They can see both groups.
They can see, but I'm talking about going to permanently, eventually.
Not going there. The whole place is going to be annexed to the lower heaven.
I'm sorry? They what?
The entire purgatory is going to be annexed to the lower heaven.
So they don't. The people of purgatory never entirely go into paradise.
They all go to paradise. Yes.
They do.
Yes, there are two heavens. There is a lower heaven and a higher heaven.
Right.
As chapters 55 and 56 describes.
But do they also, is there a possibility that some of them go to hell?
No.
So why are they so afraid and pleading to Allah from purgatory not to...
They don't know. They don't have the information yet. God has given us the information, but they don't have the information.
Okay,
so they ask, and finally God's infinite grace and mercy is responding the positive way, which means that they're going. And that's I mean that I don't know what better news than that for anybody, because this is after dying, after death. Okay, so even after death, God responds to people. Okay, this is amazing. I mean, God is absolutely amazing. His amazing grace, really true.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Salam, Dr. Fazely.
Walaikum salam, Rishad. Yes.
In regards to changing your clothes when you're at home doing your prayer, and sorry, this is such a detail, but because I haven't been doing that, I just want to make sure that I do it right moving forward. Like, for example, like for Fajr, when I wake up, if I'm in my PJs, I just do my prayer. And from what you said today, we have to change before doing our prayer.
Yeah, I mean, the point is I'm trying to make is that you go outside with your robe on.
Yeah. Okay.
You do?
With my PJ? No, I don't.
No, with your robe. Not with your PJ, with your robe. You don't go outside with your robe. Okay? I don't go outside with my robe. I have a robe and I don't go, or I have one. I don't go outside because I'm embarrassed. So that has to be the same way. And the thing is that we have to be a presentable worshiper. A worshiper who is presentable to the public, at least, minimum. Okay? I have these pants that are exercise pants that you wear, at the thing, and I have a shirt that's nice and everything, so that's what I do my prayers in. And so that's what we have to do. We have to be presentable. We have to be in a state of dressing that is presentable to the public, and we're not embarrassed. I mean, you go to the grocery store. I can go to the grocery store with this. Okay, but I cannot go with my pajamas to the grocery store.
Okay.
So that's the point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's why. Welcome, salam.
Sorry.
Let me just continue. And that's why I have so much problem with this ihram that they have in Mecca. All these people basically are with these robes on them, and they're going around, and that is not respectful to God. Okay, that's disrespectful because you don't go to your boss like that. Okay, if you want to go to, or you don't go to the grocery store like that. They'll kick you out probably, like that, because you're not dressed properly. And so that's the point. The point is that it has to be a respectable thing that you can actually go someplace and be presentable. Okay, Mahmoud, go ahead, please.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. You were discussing mixing bad with good.
Yes.
And if you look at 9:102, it talks about that. Those who mix the good and the bad.
Yes. Others who confess their sins and mix good deed with evil, God may accept their repentance. Indeed, God is all forgiving, all merciful. I mean, these are all good news, okay? I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is absolute generosity as far as mercy and grace is concerned by God, and forgiveness. Okay? So, that's what I said. There is a way out. There's a way out. The way out is repentance.
Absolutely.
Okay? And the good news is indeed God is all forgiving, all merciful. That's how God ends it. Okay?
Salam, Dr. Fazely, can I ask one question?
Yes.
Is that verse 9:102? Is it these people who mix their sins and good deeds? This means till the end of their life, right?
Whenever it is, it says that, and the others who confess their sins and mix the good deed with evil. Okay, so they did something that was not appropriate. You cannot do good deeds and then cover it with it. In other words, that's what I said. You cannot give to charity and then go out and gamble or drink or something like that, and then we'll do other things, other bad deeds. Okay. And mix that with good deeds. Then say your prayers later on. And so that's mixing good deeds with bad deeds. So, in other words, one has to repent for that. That's what the thing that I was talking about. That there's a way out. The way out is repentance to God.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, very good. So if there are no more questions, we quit for tonight and we do our usual